We are about to start. Good afternoon, honourable members, officials, and a warm welcome to this meeting of the Ad Hoc Committee on the number of Western Cape Provincial Parliament seats. Today is Wednesday, the 9th of November. It has just gone 1 o'clock, and it's really a pleasure for me to welcome you all. Honourable members, we are 15 and therefore a quorum consists of 8 members. I see we have safely reached that minimum threshold, but can I ask that we introduce ourselves, and if I may ask, because we're a slightly bigger group online than usual, that we try to more or less go down the alphabet in terms of introducing ourselves. It doesn't need to be a strict order, but just for an orderly introduction. My name is Enriquez van der Westhuizen, and I'm honored to chair this meeting. And can we then please start with the members introducing themselves?
Good morning, Chairperson. My name is Gillian Bosman, or good afternoon, Chairperson. My name is Gillian Bosman, and I'm a member of this committee.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. My name is Dan Plato. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. My name is Colin Christians. I'm a member of this committee. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair members. My name is Christopher Fry and I'm a member of this committee. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, all members. Khalil Brankes.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Pat Decker.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. Good afternoon, everyone. Ricardo McKenzie.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. My name is Kayla Murray.
Good afternoon, Chair. Wendy Kaiser-Philander.
Did I hear Honourable Murray?
I don't know whether my alphabet name numbers already on the board, but Peter Murray, member of this committee.
Good afternoon, Chair, and everyone present. Pat Moran.
Well, thank you very much. I believe those are all the members that are online.
Good afternoon, Chair. I'm also online. Good afternoon, Chair. I'm Khalid Sayed, member of the committee.
Thank you very much, and you're all most welcome. Thank you very much. Can I just get an indication also of the officials that have joined us and that are supporting this meeting?
Good afternoon, Chair. It's Wasima Ahmed here, Procedural Officer.
Afternoon, Chair. Johan Vermeulen here, Senior Procedural Officer. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair. Lubabalo Stemele, member of the staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see the Ms. Mrubata is also with us, Masintle. Perhaps she might be muted, but thank you very much also for your support in bringing the committee and its work this far. Honourable members, on our agenda, we have 2 main items. The first one is the consideration of the report on our work over the last number of months, and then also to approve of the minutes of the last meeting of this committee. And then I'm also going to ask, and I haven't warned her beforehand, Ms. Kamish Ahmad, but since this may be the last meeting of this committee, it may be required that we just consider the minutes of today as well before this committee might find itself in a position where we're not going to meet again. But let me not preempt. Let's see how this meeting goes. Honourable members, I wish to really extend a word of thanks to Ms. Kamish Ahmad and Mr. Johan Vermeulen for assisting us in compiling this report. And it has been circulated amongst all the members more than once. initially there were some, can I almost call it editorial changes to the report, as the first draft was already, to my from what I could see, very much an accurate reflection of the work of this committee and our recommendations. We did not receive any input except for a mistake where we missed the second ATC, and that the membership of this committee changed midterm, and that has now also been corrected on the version. And then there was just one last, can I almost call it spelling mistake, with a member's initials that are put behind a surname, where in the case of other members the initials preceded the surname. So, honourable members, I would like Ms. Kamish Ahmad just to beam onto our screens the various pages of this report. I've been told that it's not necessary for us to read this report into the records, as it has been circulated, and as we can also see it now on the screen. And therefore, honourable members, can I ask that you please raise your hand if you want to propose any amendments at this stage? As I've said, we haven't received any proposed changes when we sent it out earlier, except for some changes which I myself proposed and which was then accepted by the officials. So can I just slowly, please, can we first just, this is page 1 up to the middle of paragraph 2.2. Are there any proposed amendments to page 1? None. Thank you.
Chair.
Yes, I see a hand. Oh, I hear a voice.
Yes, Honourable Maran.
Welcome.
I just wanted to check with you, Chair, if you look at pool 2.1, membership and committee activities, and if you look, for instance, at the ANC, there it says 2, but between brackets there's a 1. Is it correct?
I see, and it can't be correct. It can't be 2 and 1.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Good. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Any other changes on page 1, honourable members? Thank you. Can we then consider page 2? Thank you. No changes there. Can we then consider page 3?
Chair.
Again, Honourable Maran, please come in.
If you look at the word realize and the red stripe underneath, should the S be a Z?
Depending on whether you prefer, your computer is set on British English or American English, I believe.
Sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Vermeulen, do we have a preference in the Western Cape?
Yes, we definitely do. We use British, but since we've changed over to this new computer system, and I'm not ICT savvy, but this new, I think 360, whatever they call it, recently, it seems to me that everything is set to American, but we use British. So realize should be with an S, and the settings will, like you indicated, it will indicate that there's a possible mistake, but it is correct for us the way we use it. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Vermeulen, and thank you, Honourable Maran, for raising that. And it seems to me we need to ask IT to come and change the spelling dictionary on our computer store. That brings us then to page 3.
Can I address you on page 2, sir?
You're still on page 2. Please do, Honourable Murray.
I was just concerned that we say periodic review must be made, and periodic review can be after every month, or it can be after 2 months, can be after every election. It's periodic. If there's a new party in control, what does periodic mean? And what is the criteria Is it just going to somebody come and say, I got new census figures that show something else? Or will each one of these periodic reviews only be done after a thorough examination like we've had now, where they must produce evidence of any figures submitted that warrants an increase in the number of members of parliament? And are we going to stick with 71 MPs if it's changed, but limit the number of executive members or ministers to 11? Did we ever think of it, or are we not going to go there and say that's a prerogative of the Premier? Or can the legal people tell me? I'm not so sure whether the number of ministers allowed is prescribed by the National Constitution.
Thank you, Honourable Murray. Can I just say, I think we must stick to our mandate as a committee, and we were not requested to comment on the size of the cabinet, etc. Our mandate, as we see it here in terms of this report, was to consider whether the current number of members is still appropriate, and now I'm also deviating and adding on to our mandate, but I think it was probably motivated by the fact that we've seen such a huge growth in population numbers in the Western Cape, and that the original formula used by the IEC in terms of the original legislation was based on population numbers. And as you will see when we later come to our recommendations, is that we are very careful not to prescribe, but that our recommendation comes down to the fact that we believe that the current number is no longer appropriate, and we can dwell on that again a little bit later, the reason for that, but that this would require a change in the Western Cape Constitution, and we're not the committee of this legislature dealing with constitutional changes, and therefore we're passing the ball on to that, or our recommendation to the House is that committee then deal with the changes in the Constitution, and we're just giving them some items or some considerations which I believe they could be taking into account, but we are very reluctant to exceed our mandate in that regard. I hope that response will assist you. I see your hand is still raised.
Chair, yes, your argument is a very valid argument in terms of our mandate. But we are politicians, and we look sometimes.
You seem to be unmuted because the little circle around you turned into blue, but I couldn't hear you.
I'll try again, sir.
Oh, sorry.
I accept your explanation. All I'm saying is, as politicians, we look beyond what is now here. We look futuristic too. And we must ask if what we are doing now and putting in there that periodic reviews of the numbers can lead to political manipulation unless we are absolutely clear of what is meant by that. Because any constitutional amendment which we make must first be okayed by the Constitutional Court in any case to make sure it's in line if it is not in line. I'm not saying it's not in line if we change the numbers, because we'll go guided by the IEC in terms of 100,000 per one. But if we just say that it must be reviewed periodically and we put it in the Constitution without describing what is meant by periodically, we can be into a tough ride ahead of us. And I just wanted to be careful about the periodic review, that it must be better qualified periodic review if to bring it in line with a ratio of 1 to 100,000 years, but not just an ad hoc periodic review. Because you don't play around with the Constitution whenever it suits your political objectives.
No, thank you, and I fully agree with you, Honourable Marais, and I am fortunate to say that happy to say that the chairperson of that committee is also currently online and part of this ad hoc committee, and there's no doubt in my mind that the legal advice to them, should this report be supported by the House, would be not, as you say, to play around, but to have a very strict and clear determination within any future constitutional changes. But thank you very much for that. So, honourable members, we were considering page 3. If I could get any responses on page 3, if you would like to amend anything on page 3. None. I then table page 4, and you see it there on your screen as well. I don't see any hands, which brings us to
no hands.
To page 5. Thank you. Page 5 starts with the overview of discussions with the IEC. And honourable members, I know that there was a considerable time that lapsed between our previous meeting and today. And I think what I personally found very interesting from all the homework and the briefings that we received is that the legislation has been changed, and hopefully that will then also assist the Honourable Marais' question, that in the future, before every election of a provincial and a national nature, that the IEC will now have to take under review the numbers of the various legislatures. Okay, that is then 5. And then the last page, and I'm going for us to dwell a little bit longer on page 6, because that is where the recommendations from this committee is captured. The first one, the committee recommends that based on the research findings, the number of seats allocated to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament more than 20 years ago is no longer adequate. The current number of seats is not sufficient to represent the number of the Western Cape optimally, as accountability is compromised as outlined under section 3 above. And then 6.2, that should this report be adopted by the House, the responsibility to consider and amend the Constitution of the Western Cape in line with the guidelines contained in this report be referred to the Standing Committee on the Premier and Constitutional Affairs. And then, honourable members, we, in drafting this report, thought that some pointers might be appropriate, aspects for possible consideration by the Standing Committee on the Premier and Constitutional Matters, should they be asked to effect any or consider any amendments to the Constitution, that it be amended to provide for periodic reviews. Now, periodic, as the Honourable Marais said, we're not prescriptive in how that period should be, but I've got no doubt in my mind that it will be a clear interval in terms of the Constitution. On the number of seats in the legislature in line with changes in the population size of the province, that in considering the variables of the formula, the variable used in section 3 of the Electoral Act as amended be considered as a guideline. That will bring us in line with the other provinces, and then that don't have their own constitutions. And 7.3, that copies of the inputs and presentations to the ad hoc committee on the number of seats be made available to the Standing Committee on the Premier and Constitutional Affairs to consider. Honourable members, those are our recommendations. They're particularly 6.2 and 6.1 and 6.2. I think that is the most important aspects of this report. Can I table that and then ask for your consideration of that. Any amendments first?
Chairperson, I'm happy with the report. Thank you very much. I'm just curious about 7.2, if you can perhaps just assist me with for my understanding. Why are we being so prescriptive in giving the another committee that in consideration the variable section 3 of the Act that must be used as a guideline? I have no objection, but it just particularly prescriptive, limiting them in what their scope and their thinking.
No. Thank you, Honourable Mackenzie. That is, we deliberately tried not to be prescriptive, and that is why we use such words such as aspects for possible consideration by the Standing Committee on Premier and Constitutional Matters. And that is also why that is not part of our recommendation. We do not want to move out of our lane. We want to stay in our lane because we've just been asked to recommend to the House whether we believe that the number of seats is still appropriate, and so that is the issue that we've come to the conclusion. And as I've said, it's interesting that in terms of the National Assembly, they've also come to the same conclusion, and therefore they've amended this Electoral Act last year without amending the variable that they use. But the amendment to that act was that before every election, the IEC should consider and determine the sizes of the various legislatures. Again, Honourable Marais.
Sorry, okay, I'll go after Marais, yeah.
Yes, no, I think that what we are doing is the right thing, because bearing in mind, whatever the Premier's Constitutional Committee decides must still come to the House, and he will need a 2/3 to get it through. So that brings into play the official opposition and other opposition parties. So they won't be able to abuse their power, because the ruling party, in this case the DA, do not have a 2/3 majority. So I feel comfortable that it be referred to the Premier's and his Constitutional Committee, which in any case, whatever they decide, will have to come to the House.
Thank you, Honourable Marais. Honourable Mackenzie, and then Honourable Maran.
Thank you, Chair. Now, I'm just, is it possible, and I don't just help me with the structure. Normally, your committee recommendations is the last thing of what you recommend. That's why it's called recommendation. That 7 should be above 6. I'm just trying, that's why this is confusing to me, because what the committee recommend, it's a structure of your report. It's not something after you've compiled the report.
If Honourable Maran would allow me just first to respond. I think the reason why we have this order is because of 6.2, which recommends that it be referred to, and then only can we say what aspects should be considered. If we turn it around, it would not lead into why are we asking this Standing Committee on Premier and Constitutional Matters to consider. I hope you follow my thinking and my reasoning, Honourable Mackenzie. Honourable Maran.
Thanks, Chair. I'm partially covered by the Honourable Peter Marais. It is a constitutional matter and it has to come to Parliament for a constitutional change. But Chair, I just wanted to check with you, Section 3 of the Electoral Act, basically, to be considered as a guideline, and that basically says that for every 100,001 seats, and that will be our recommendation to the Premier and Constitutional Committee, meaning if they agree with us and if it goes to Parliament and if there is a constitutional change successfully, the two-third majority, then it means we will stick to the rules of the IEC or the determination of the IEC, which says 1 per 100,000. And even the Apex ruling, which says basically that the IEC can't determine for the Western Cape. If the Western Cape wants to go beyond the 100 in future, beyond the 100 per 100,000, then it means it's going to need again a constitutional change. I just want to check with you that. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to respond? Honourable Maran, if I understood you correctly, yes, indeed, this is would now be going to the House for the House's consideration, and the House will then, I almost want to say, pass this on to the Standing Committee on the Premier and Constitutional Affairs. Honourable members, that is the report that is in front of us. I don't seem to hear any proposed amendments to this report, apart from the ones that have already been brought about during this meeting. So I want to say thank you very much. May I now ask that we vote on the acceptance of the report or not? Honourable Marais?
Sir, a lot of people has worked on this report. It would have been a nice touch if we express, or don't you think it should be done, express in the report our appreciation and thanks to all those officials who worked on this report and did all the necessary research that was required. It would have been a nice touch, but I'm only making it as a suggestion to thank them.
Thank you, Honourable Marais. This is a brilliant suggestion, but can I ask that we add this to the minutes of today's meeting as a decision by this meeting, and that it be taken up in our minutes, and that we in terms of the report, I almost want to say keep it formal and factual, but I will rely on you to raise this matter once we've considered the report itself. Can we continue? I see the Honourable Maran's hand is still raised. Thank you.
Like I said, Chair, I'm putting it down.
Thank you. Thank you. So, honourable members, I submit to you this report on the work of the ad hoc committee on the number of Western Cape Provincial Parliament seats. Can I first ask those in favour must now give me an indication. Now, since we're online, it's difficult, to raise hands, etc. Is there? Can I be so bold to say that I want to put to you that we unanimously adopt this report? Is there anybody
yes,
that would like to differ from?
Support, Chair.
You are bold.
Support, Chair.
Support, Chair. ICDP supports.
Wonderful. Wonderful. No other views?
Freedom Front Plus support.
Support. Good. Thank you very much. This is fantastic news. So, and I'm really grateful for the support from all of you honourable members. Thank you very much. So this report is then duly considered. Can I just ask, Ms. Kamis Ahmad, are you happy for me then to sign off on this report, or would you like us to rather have a proposer and a seconder and then say that it has been unanimously adopted?
Chairperson, the report has been adopted, so that suffices.
That's sufficient. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for that. Then, honourable members, the next item on the agenda is any resolutions or actions, and I think this is where I now rely on the Honourable Marais to, on behalf of the committee, express our gratitude to everybody, including the representatives from the IEC. I would like to propose that made input into the work of this committee, and that allowed us to put together this report, and then also specifically also our support staff. I see a hand is raised. Is that the hand of? No, it's another hand. Honourable Bosman.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm not sure whether you saw my hands earlier, but I'd like to ask whether I could be excused at this point of the meeting to make my way to the National Council of Provinces to participate in the debate, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your participation, and best of luck. I know you'll fly the Western Cape flag high there. Thank you. Honourable members, I've proposed, but as I've said, I think it's actually a proposal that came from a suggestion by the Honourable Marais that we thank everybody. Again, it seems to me that there's no dissenting voice or vote. So that's also unanimously adopted, that we extend a word of thanks to all that assisted us in the compilation of this report. Any other actions that anybody would like to, resolutions would like to propose? None? Thank you very much.
The competent manner in which the chair handled the investigation.
Ms. Kamish Ahmad, please, that should be minuted. I'm absolutely delighted. Thank you, Honourable Mayor. And then the last item on the agenda is now first the consideration, the second last, the consideration and adoption of our minutes of the 7th of September. Will you please beam that onto the screen as well, ma'am? We're just giving Ms. Kamish Ahmad an opportunity to beam that onto our screens as well. Thank you very much. That has also been circulated, and again circulated yesterday, honourable members. I put to you page 1, then page 2. Thank you very much. Again, honourable members, can I get a proposer and a seconder for?
I agree, Chairperson Dan Plato.
Proposed by Honourable Plato and Honourable America, your hand.
Second as Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, unanimously adopted. Much appreciated. And yes, now, Chair. Honourable members, as I preempt that this might be the last meeting then of this committee, I would like you just to consider and just give the Ms. Kamish Ahmad a minute just to beam, can I call it the basics of today's meeting in terms of the minutes onto our screens. Thank you, Ms. Kamish Ahmad. Have you been able to already attend to the attendance register? As far as I can see, everybody is present here. Thank you. Thank you, honourable members. Please speak up if you don't see your name there. Same with the support staff. And now to the contents of the meeting. Welcome, consideration, and the resolutions. That the report be considered by the House, and then that the draft minutes of the 7th of September, which were considered and adopted. And can we then also ask that we consider the draft minutes of the 9th of November? And the committee would like to thank all stakeholders and staff for the vital contributions made towards the work of the ad hoc committee. I recognize Honourable Marais.
Yes, I think it's a blanket thank. It's not what I had in mind, but we had the research unit and we had the legal unit and we had, so that anybody having a copy of this report, you don't know what people are, how they're going to view this report. Where we note and mention the names here, IEC, the Western Cape Provincial Parliament's legal unit, and whoever was called to give evidence, it will give greater credibility than just to say, we thank all the committee members who was here. No, I think we must name them, sir.
Thank you, Honourable Marais. Obviously, the names of, for example, IFC officials, etc., did appear in the minutes of the previous.
No, not the names of the officials. The units. The
name of units. Mr. Vermeulen, I recognize you.
Chairperson, thank you. I think everybody most probably agrees with what Mr. Marais is saying. And I just think it's because of time and Wasima is under pressure that you couldn't mention all those units. But we will make sure to go back and put all the units that the consulted with the committee and that assisted the committee in here, just as a principle, so that Wasima don't have to maybe try to do it, all of it right now. I just want to make another point, Chairperson, if you will allow me. I think point 3 in the minutes is a little bit superfluous, where it says that the committee recommended that the report be considered by the House, because in this type of report, the committee is making direct recommendations to the House. So it has to be considered by the House. We can leave it in the minutes, but I'm just saying it's not really necessary to mention because it's not really a recommendation. It's something that the House has to do. They have to now consider that report because the report says at the bottom, report to be considered. Because otherwise those recommendations that the committee makes to the House will just lie dormant. The House must make a decision on it. But okay. I don't want to speak too much. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you, Chairperson.
No, thank you. So I think the essence that we want to have captured is that the report was adopted unanimously, and that obviously we as a committee are now happy for this report to be forwarded to the House for its consideration. Thank you very much. And thank you very much again from my side, honourable members. A particular word of thanks also to our support staff. You've just heard the voice of Mr. Vermeulen, who made a huge contribution behind the scenes in terms of the edits to the report. But a particular word of thanks also to Ms. Wasima Kamish-Ahmad for her assistance in this regard. I am happy, honourable members, to sign this set of minutes on behalf of this committee. With the ones we've given Ms. Kamish-Ahmad, I think it captures the essence of this committee. May I just on a personal note also extend my word of thanks to all the members on this committee. It has been wonderful, the cooperation, the level of debate, and for us, amongst all the parties represented in the Western Cape Provincial Cabinet, to have been, speaking out of one mouth and really trying to serve the interest of this province as a unit, and showing unitary, support in this regard. So thank you very much. And with that, honourable members, I would like to close this meeting. Just before we end this meeting, there's been an opportunity for you to add anything if you really feel very serious about it. I don't see any hands. And then I want to say thank you very much and have a great afternoon. And again, my warmest appreciation for your support in this process. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair.